Yo, what's up guys? It's Talon. Today I'm going to be explaining to you guys why, if your goal really genuinely is just purely to climb in Wild Rift, you should play jungle above any other role. And I'm going to kind of go through a gameplay that sort of shows some of the strengths of this role and just kind of explain, like some details of the role that are important and that make it easy to climb with. Because people usually ask me what's the best role to climb with? What's the best champion? What's the best this, that? And, they just want an easy way to climb. And so I first do want to say, I don't think that you have to play jungle to climb. I mean, you guys literally know that I've played autofill for the last year pretty much straight, and I have reached top 10 on the server 3 seasons in a row, all playing autofill. I've reached challenger on every role, all that stuff. So I just want to qualify this video with the fact that it's not necessary to play jungle, and you can climb doing anything at the end of the day if you're good enough at it. But I do want to explain why jungle is by far the best role. And if you are struggling to find a role that really suits you, I kind of want to explain why jungle might be a good role for you to want to climb in. I'm still coughing. I'm still a little sick, so just so you guys know, I'll be coughing as I kind of make this video. But going into why jungle is so OP. So the first thing is that it has access to the most gold in the game. Way more gold than any other role can get. If you farm efficiently, you will just simply get more gold than anyone else on the map, because of conservation, which is basically that little thing in the middle bottom of my screen that you can see that currently has a 7 by it. Basically, the longer that you don't clear a camp for, the more gold you get for clearing a camp. And so this constantly accelerates your gold, even if you don't farm super efficiently. Just alongside that, there's just simply more gold. Your camps will respawn faster and give you more overall gold compared to what lanes do. And then you can even farm lanes past 7 minutes and 30 seconds, get a bunch of gold from that. You have access to so much. So gold is the first thing. It's really easy to carry, obviously, if you have way more gold. And so if you want the burden of carrying to be on you, then that is a really important thing. Additionally, you get to decide way more things when you're playing jungle. You get to decide if your team goes for an objective or not, because the reality is, your team can't contest an objective without a smite in 90% of cases. So you pretty much have to be there. So you get to decide when your team skips an objective, when your teammates go for it, whatever. Obviously, sometimes they're not going to listen and they're still going to int even if you don't go, but you at least have that control. You also have the burden of smiting, so you actually get to secure the objective, which is something that, especially in lower ranks, I notice a lot of players don't understand, and that is how to secure objectives properly. So they don't understand that you can combo your smite with an ability for more damage. So for example, obviously like a new player can do over 1500 damage almost like with a smite in the late game because of comboing with their first abilities, stuff like that. A lot of people don't understand that, and that is like something that only a jungler can do. Junglers also get to impact every part of the map. So you're going to see, early on my game's not really going well, my team's not doing well, but I'm still able to exert my influence over somewhere on the map no matter what, because even say that the enemy jungle is really fed and the enemy's popping off, I can always contest where somewhere where the enemy jungle isn't. I can go top side when they're bot side or vice versa. And so I can always have an impact somewhere and create an advantage somewhere, even if my team's doing really poorly. So here, for example, I can very easily exert my influence on whoever I see is doing the best. And in that case, that's my Jax. The rest of my map is not going that well, but my Jax is doing pretty well. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to choose to play around this guy. I'm going to just instantly help him out with his wave. I'm going to crash a wave, and then I'm going to dive to Darius. And you see how we're able to get a kill here, even though the enemy Lee Sin's here, because I'm playing around my strengths. So if I'm, an ADC and I have a bad support, I don't get to just leave, but if I'm a jungle and I have a bad ADC, I have a bad support, I have a bad mid, I can play around my top. Or, if everyone is bad except my mid, I play around my mid. So you can always kind of play around someone, and you get to decide who that is, whereas you just don't have that same agency in other roles, which is why you can see I'm able to really hard play around it. I even stick around and get turret plates for this guy. And I'm able to get my Trinity Force at 4 minutes. Still have access to my entire top side of the map, which means I'm going to have about 4,000 gold by the time the first dragon spawns. And it's very rare that you have 4,000 gold by the time first dragon spawns with only 1 kill. But in my case, that's completely possible because I'm playing jungle. It's just simply not possible in a lot of other roles. You also have a lot of different types of champions in jungle that can be played, which is, very beneficial as well. You can play assassins, you can play tanks, you can play champions that can facilitate the early game. You can play scaling champions. You can play tank killers. You can play even ADCs, certain ones. There's like Kindred, there's Graves, there's, even stuff like Ezreal jungle kind of works. So like, there's just so many different types of champions you can play. So you can fit any team comp as well, which some roles don't have the luxury of. You know, ADC can't really do that. It's pretty hard to do that in mid. You could kind of do it in mid, but it's harder. Top lane obviously has a lot less impact on the map overall, so it's just like all these types of things. And then again, you get to be very avoidant when your team sucks, which you can't do in a lot of roles. So notice here, I go to Herald. Why do I go Herald? Because my Jax is doing better than the rest of my team, because I ganked him. And because the Lee Sin I know is going topside, because Lee Sin was bot side for so long, that of course he's going to go topside because his topside camps are up, and so he's going to contest Dragon. And because I know that, I'm able to just play around, you know, I can literally ignore my bad players again, and I can just play around whoever's doing well. And so because I'm able to do this, I'm able to get the entire first turret without even dropping my Herald. And then I get to decide where the Herald goes too, which I end up dropping mid later. And so I get to decide where the Herald goes. I get to decide where we play around. I get to decide so many things. And so that agency and that decision-making power that you have is like another reason jungle is so strong. And then you see, again, we just constantly are playing around the same person. And so I wait for Darius's stacks to go away. Then I jump on him and we kill him. So we're just completely bulldozing one lane and making that lane really hard. I'm already at 5,000 gold. I'm hitting my, you know, my boots. And we're just able to really carry in the early game, even with, you know, again, laners who weren't doing too well apart from Jax. And Jax wasn't even really doing well, to be honest. He got ahead from mostly me. He did some on his own, like to get a bit of a health lead at one point, but a lot of his lead came from our decisions, right? And so that's like another really nice thing about jungle. And then you can see here, again, we're just going to go for the Mordekaiser and like force his flash. Very easy to impact a lot of lanes, make their games really annoying compared to other roles. And so what are like the important things then, you know, to carry on jungle? Because obviously, just because jungle's a good role doesn't mean you can just carry on it magically, or else everyone would constantly play jungle and climb on it. So really the most important things to understand is just that you should be very selfish in solo queue. Like the reason that jungle is so good too is because you can be really, really selfish, unlike some other roles that, you know, require you to rely on other people and require you to a lot of times play around other people. But in this, you know, role, you get to do whatever's the best for you. And so I really want you guys to understand, like when you're playing solo queue, and again, this can be different in different contexts when you're duo, trio, 5-man, but especially for solo queue, you want to be mega selfish. Like I told you guys, you know, I hit Challenger every role back when Challenger was the highest rank in the game. The only role I did purely solo queue was jungle. All other roles I did mostly like, I did like half and half. It was usually like half duo, half solo. So like I still played all the roles, you know, in solo and duo, but like for jungle, I only played solo queue. And the reason I'm able to do this is because you can be so much more selfish on this role, and it just makes it a lot easier to climb solo queue only. I do think I could climb solo queue only on the other roles. It just take a lot longer and be much more of a headache overall. So the fact that you can do that on jungle as well is really important. So it's really important to understand you need to be selfish. You need to do what's best for you in 95% of cases. Like once you become really, really good at jungle, you can start to figure out when you should actually play around your teammates and when you should kind of help them out rather than just purely playing selfishly 24/7. But if you're like, you can legitimately get to Sovereign by just purely being as selfish as possible. If you become really good at your champion, you understand how to carry on your champion, and you understand farming and efficiency really well, you can easily reach Sovereign playing solo queue. Now that's going to depend on some other factors like your skill, the amount of time you invest, whatever. But you genuinely don't need to understand the game that well to use this playstyle. You can just be as selfish as possible, constantly farm your camps when they're up. Like, go watch me coach any jungler, go watch any of my jungle coachings. Almost always one of the first things I bring up is how you should be more selfish. And I have seen the most success from junglers of anyone that I coach. Like, there's most often I get a DM from a you know, a jungler, and they're like, I just reached master for the first time after you did coaching. I just reached challenger. Like I had a jungler last season reach challenger, who'd never been challenger before, and he was playing Shyvana and would play the game quite selfishly. And he was a better player, you know, than the average player I would coach, and so he did a lot of it like on his own, just getting better. But again, that efficiency thing was one of the main things we had to talk about with him, and like led to him being able to climb a lot better as well, just optimizing, you know, your efficiency and everything. And it's just so common that I can see people climb on this role. So if you are like planning on, let's say, role swapping to jungle or whatever after this video, or you were already planning on it, or you're kind of newer to jungle and you're trying to learn, just keep in mind that efficiency has to be the first thing that you work on above all else. As long as when your camps are up, you clear them. It's pretty much that straightforward. Like in the early game, you're going to full clear, right? You're going to clear each side of the map once. You're going to probably look for a scuttle, and then you'll have about 30 seconds to gank. Then by the time the clock is going around 2:20, 2:30, you're going to go straight back to wherever you started, and you're going to clear those camps. And then once you clear that entire side of the map, your blue side, or whatever side that you didn't start on, it will also start respawning, and then you're going to clear that. And then now you're going to have another minute or so before the objective to then go look for ganks or look for plays. So basically it's just a cycle of full clear, then look for maybe a gank for a little bit, then full clear again, then look for one more gank, then maybe recall, set up for an objective, whatever. And it's really that straightforward. That's cyclical. And so you can see here, like, this entire game, all I've been doing is just like, my camps are up, I farm them. If we win a fight, I can look for invades like here, right? But typically it's just I farm my camps, then I look for a gank, I look for a play, I do the objective, I do whatever, and then, okay, I'm going to go right back to farming. So notice how in this sequence, I got an objective because we contested the objective, then I got a kill because we saw someone who we could chase down, and then what did I do immediately after getting the objective and the kills? Right back to farming. I invade their entire side of the map, I go in and I clear my entire red side, and then I go and clear my entire blue side. So notice how I'm doing it. It's so cyclical, it's so straightforward. Now my camps are no longer up, and so I have time to do something else, right? And what am I going to do with that time? I'm going to recall because I just farmed a bunch of gold, and so now I spend that gold. I'm really strong now at this point, and so I can force a fight or a gank because I just got 3 quadrants of the map. I cleared his entire blue side, and then my red side, my blue side. So now I have some time to do other things. It takes 1 minute and 50 seconds for small camps to respawn, any camp that's not a buff, and it takes 2 minutes and 30 seconds for buffs to respawn. So after you do a full clear, you usually have over a minute of time to then do stuff. So it's just really important to understand you can force stuff after. So notice what I'm forcing, right? I'm forcing the Baron. And why am I able to do that? Because I have nothing else to do, and I know that a bunch of their team is topside, and so I'm going to force the Baron to bait them into fighting me as they're stuck on topside, and then I get a free kill under Lee Sin because I'm not going to flip an objective, and then we get the smite. The smite was closer than I thought it would be because that was actually a lot of burst damage from the Misfortune. But notice how I use the fact that I have vision on multiple people to force the decision of what we do. And what we do is we go for the objective. But instead of flipping it with the enemy jungle, I kill the enemy jungle when he shows up. And a lot of people in that situation would just flip the objective, and then they would throw the game if they missed the smite and the Lee Sin outsmites them. So you need to understand, right, you have control over the objectives, and that means you get to decide what you do with your smite. So if you're trying to, force an objective, make sure that all of the factors present are in your favor. Make sure that you have more people there than the enemy. Make sure you know where the enemy jungle is and that it's not a 50-50 flip. And if it is a flip, then you end up forcing, something like I did there. And now what do I do after I force this play? I go back to farming because now my camps are up. I have, again, this timer where it's like, okay, I cleared my camps, I can go do something, now I did something, and now my camps are back up. So I go right back to clearing them. And now, again, I invaded his blue, then I immediately go to my entire red side, I recall to spend my gold because I have an item, and then I go farm the rest of my camps. It's this cyclical, and this is just why jungle is so OP. This is what I want you guys to understand, is it's literally that simple. Like, I know, like, people say, like, you make it look easier than it is, right? But really, just actually think about my thought process. What am I doing? Oh, now there's an objective on the map. My priority is pretty much an objective whenever an objective's up. If there's no objective up, I farm. If I have no farm up, then I either recall or I gank or I fight, right? It's just something like that. It's like that straightforward. It really is. And this is the game that got me to Vanquisher, which is, if you guys don't know how the ranks work in Legendary Ranked, it goes Warrior, Commander, Guardian, Vanquisher, Immortal, and Legend. If you get Vanquisher right now, you can't really find games, so it's like quite high. I think I'm like top 100 roughly on the server, and so what I'm saying is we're in pretty high elo games of Legend Queue, which is, the mode with better players as well, and we're still able to just go through this such a straightforward checklist of what we need to do. And then again, now that I've, again, farmed my camps, I'm starting to force, plays elsewhere, which is like looking for invades, looking for gold elsewhere, just this type of thing. And so that's why jungle's so OP, really, is like you're able to do this so consistently and it works so well, and most people aren't going to be this efficient. And when the other people aren't being this efficient, like when the enemy jungle's, not being as efficient and whatever, you're very easily able to invade them and get gold leads, even if their fights work out really well. So even if they end up, getting a lot of ganks off and kind of popping off in terms of ganks, it doesn't really matter because you're going to constantly have that gold, that farm lead on them. And that's just really why, again, jungle is so OP. I know I've been kind of explaining over and over again, but I really just wanted to explain to you guys at the end of the day why you should play this role. And then notice again, right back to this guy's blue buff. His blue buff has been mined 3 times in a row. And because the jungle's dead, I can force an objective. And again, sometimes I might have teammates who force stuff I don't want to force. But when I'm the jungle, I can stick on the objective when I know we should. I can get off the objective when I know we should. So even though my team gets off the objective, I can stay on it and keep forcing it and deciding what we do. And I don't have to listen to my teammates. At the end of the day, I get, to decide what we do. I would say one thing for jungle is mute your teammates though. I always play with teammates muted, so it's not an issue for me. But you get flamed a lot because people don't understand jungle. And when you play this way, they're really not going to understand it. They're going to be like, why didn't you gank me 6 times? So I didn't gank you 6 times because my camps were up. And of course, I'm going to farm my camps first because that's more consistent in the long run. And so people aren't going to understand that. And you just have to, kind of deal with that as a jungler in solo queue. But if you're able to deal with that well, you're able to keep good mental and you don't listen to your dumb teammates, then you will be chilling. And again, now we're just kind of forcing to end the game pretty straightforwardly. Instead of going straight mid with my team, I make sure to push out the bot lane with my Baron so that we can end the game through multiple waves rather than having one wave that would just get cleared in the mid lane by a misfortune ultimate or something. And through that, we're able to end the game very straightforwardly and get Vanquisher with this game, as we'll show you guys here. So if you guys are interested in coaching, whether it is that you want coaching on jungle or another role, I can play every role. I'm a rank 5 sovereign autofill player, so I can coach you on whatever. If you're interested in coaching, it's just $15 an hour. Just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to join my Discord server. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next Wild Rift video.